Welcome to Health Professionals Outside the Box podcast. In this series, I'll be talking to health professionals who've leveraged their professional skills to pursue alternative income sources, alternative careers, and entrepreneurship. We will gain insight into their motivations, experiences, and challenges, and learn how we too can carve our own path to finding purpose, fulfillment, and financial freedom. I'm your host, Fee. Thank you for listening. So welcome back to this episode of the podcast. Joining me as a guest today is Sandra Chakara. She's a psychiatric nurse and she runs an e-commerce business where she sells goods over the internet. Sandra, welcome.
Thank you. I'm really excited and looking forward to this chat. Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us about yourself and your professional background.
So I have been a mental health nurse now for close to 20 years. I am of Southern African origin from Zimbabwe, and I am a mom of two, one who's a teenager and one who's a preteen. And I am also, I would say, a lifelong student of human activity and life. So I qualified as a nurse back in 2003, 2004. And so I've worked in different areas in psychiatric care, both in inpatient and community services. I've also been involved in research, project management. So basically, I've just built my career in both corporate in terms of the corporate side of health and nursing, as well as the clinical side as well. And now in my current role, it's focusing more on nursing development and standards. And also, I'm also an advocate for people who are either disadvantaged or silenced, either by virtue of, language barriers or by structures in society. So I'm also the chair of our BAME network at work. So I'd say in the last 20 years, if there's a part in terms of the NHS and psychiatric care, I've either worked directly or indirectly in that part.
Sounds like you've had an extensive work experience. And are you still working clinically?
Well, yes and no. So I am more supporting the people that are delivering care clinically. But I am still a practicing RMN. So and that's my full-time job. And it's something I enjoy.
It's good to hear that. So you have an online retail store and a print-on-demand service. May you explain to us what a print-on-demand service is for those that don't know?
So this model of product production really is around giving individuals who may not necessarily have the initial startup capital to still be able to design and create products that they can actually sell and start their businesses. And also for me, one of the reasons why I chose this avenue, aside from the lower startup costs, is also the fact that it's also sustainable and it's also good for the environment, because you are not, having loads and loads of stock being created that won't necessarily find a home immediately. So you're only creating what you need. And so there are platforms that will guide you through the process of designing, whether it is a t-shirt, whatever garment that they offer. And some of them actually have templates that you can just change to what you need. And you can be as involved in the process as you are comfortable to be. Some of them, some people may have heard about drop shipping, where you can actually sell other people's products that are already created. So there's that option. But for me, I prefer the more creative freedom I can have on a platform, the better for me, because it just allows me to express myself a bit more and get my message across in terms of, the clothes that I'm designing and creating.
Have you always been creative?
Actually, being creative, yeah, I've always had an alternative eye.
I like that.
I see things as they are, but also as what they can be. And going down this particular route, it actually allowed me to step away from, the everyday, the everyday demands, whether it is parenting, whether it is family, whether it is work, and just gave me an outlet where I could recharge and reconnect really with myself. For me, it's very cathartic, the designing. And so, like, for instance, if I've had a really hectic day or really stressful day, I'll sit down, I'll come up with a design and either put it on a t-shirt, or, because the other part of my business is I do create, I'm also a maker as well. And so depending on what it is that will give me enough of an outlet, that's the mode I'll use in terms of creating something that I would like to share with the world.
What inspires your design ideas?
The world around me. So I was saying, I'm a bit of a student of the world and of people and human beings, because we are quite a complicated and fascinating species. I think the things we say, the things we do. So you'll find that some of my designs will have a slogan about what people are talking about. So like quite recently, I came up with one about, everybody's fighting for equality and fairness. And I was we are not actually looking for, equality is a great place to start. But what we are actually looking for is equity, where it is actually an equal opportunity space, where all those barriers that stop us from being our best selves are actually removed, and we can actually celebrate our differences. So from that, I came up with the slogan, equality, equity, not equality. And I remember I got a few interesting looks for it, and I was like, but this is what we are actually, aspiring to achieve. So I've got things like that. And then I also have creations which are inspired by my culture. So I actually have a range that is focused on my roots, my African roots, both my Shona and Ndebele roots. And so I will use phrases that I grew up hearing or even using myself, or even trying to promote the languages. So I've got these fridge magnets that I basically is just counting 1 up to 10. Then you go to your hundreds, tens, and thousands. And there's actually how to actually say it in Shona.
All right.
So, it's just trying to keep and share and celebrate my culture and the culture of the people that I've grown up with, the people that have influenced me, and also that heritage. And also the colors, the vibrancy of that whole experience, and what it looks like in today's world as well. Then I guess so. I'd say I get my inspiration from some of the some of these things that I've talked about, but also some of the most mundane things as well. So I used to do a lot of walking before the pandemic, and I'll just take pictures of an interesting finish on a wall, or a landscape picture, and so with that, I've got an e-commerce gallery where people can actually come and buy my photographs, my art. And on there, I also then started exploring the world of photography and what you can do to a photograph to change it. And so some of my creations, you actually find that I've taken a photograph that I've actually captured and changed the coloring, changed the texture of it, and actually put that on a piece of clothing, for instance, or a book. So
sounds very interesting.
I could talk about this till next year.
Well, do you worry about people stealing your design ideas and selling them on their own stores?
I do. But what I've found is that quite a few of the platforms have caught on to that. So they will actually allow you to put some watermarks to protect your art.
Oh, yes, I see.
Yeah. Having said that, I know that there are apps out there that will actively, help you take that off and use it as your own. And that is concerning. However, that would be, just like with any other system, you bring in something to 100 people, and 99 of them will appreciate it for what it is. And, one will decide to do something scandalous or unscrupulous about it. But you can't then, because of that one, keep something, hidden away, rather than actually sharing it and bringing peace or a smile to somebody. And so, and I know I sound really idealistic about this, but I just think there will always be people who want to manipulate the system, and they are things that you can do to protect your work. They may not necessarily be 100%, but they'll make a difference.
So it sounds like you're saying the benefits outweigh the risks, really. What type of customers do your products appeal, or your stores appeal to?
So what I've done is I have identified different niches for my work. So it's one brand. So that is, Chakara S Unlimited or CS Unlimited. However, within that brand, I have lines that are dedicated to each particular niche. And each niche will have its own platform and its own website, and its own social media. Because what I discovered was that when you are creating something for a group of people, it has to be something that they connect with as well. And you need to understand the people who you're creating things for. Because it's not about mass production. It is about getting the privilege to share and express your eye on things, and actually finding people that connect with those creations. And so people don't necessarily buy the t-shirt or the hoodie or the apron. They will pay for the experience.
I see. Yeah.
So for me, I have, and so what I've done with each niche is identifying niches that also I can relate to. So I've got a range that's just for babies and young adults. And then I've got a range that caters for your slightly older young adults. So your late teens to your 29 to 30-year-olds. and then another range that caters for your for women. So in terms of women that are, either they're at university and working, or they've just started their new job, but it's a range that will take you from work to lunch with your girlfriends to, date night, for instance. And then there's another range that will cater for, those who have caring responsibilities, where they need something that is like loungewear, but will sustain them through having to, run through the bushes when the dog has gone off the leash, or trip over and fall on in the mud or something like that. And there's also a range to celebrate the simple elegance that comes with our bodies. And then there's also a range for men as well. And then the one that started it all, which is the knitting. And that one is about, I started off just knitting scarves. And that was just to help me relax. It was almost like a meditative almost. And that's when my friends were like, oh, you're doing some really nice work. Why don't you, share it? I was like, nah, no one want to look at this. And, or even want to pay for it. And that's where it started. And that for me is, where all the passion is most intense. It's just the joys of seeing something that you've created put a smile on someone's face.
Yeah, so I suppose it's rewarding when people are buying your creative designs and people are leaving comments.
Well, this is the thing. That's something I had to learn about, the whole, getting the feedback and getting to hear what people thought or think. And it's actually been really helpful, because the more of a critical eye you get, the more you grow and the more you learn. I look at the things that, I created at the beginning of this journey, and I look at the things that I'm creating now. You can actually see the difference in terms of the time invested, the learning, and how the feedback that I've gotten has shaped the direction in which, I've chosen.
So what are the examples of platforms that people could look at in terms of print-on-demand services? What platforms do you use?
So for me, I use a wide variety of platforms, and you always find their reviews. So you always have, people making videos of reviews that they'll share on YouTube to compare the different providers. And I'd always say, if you create something, get samples and test them out. That way you can create your own catalog of suppliers. So for me, some of the platforms I've used, it's also been about how much creative freedom I get, how reliable they are in terms of filling the orders, how easily it is to integrate their platform with my website, as well as the range of products that they offer as well. And also how they protect whether I maintain my copyright of all my artistic designs. So the ones I've used so far, I started off with Printful, which was really good. And just to point out that what you'll find with this particular approach is that your profit margin will not be as high as, say, for instance, if you were to buy in bulk and you keep the stock. However, you get to actually hone your craft, and you can still order things in bulk, especially if you find that there's a particular design that is popular. But in this day and age where, we are not mixing as we normally do, it is actually a bit more it allows you to continue to trade even if people are not able to leave their homes, because it's all, available. You can create an e-commerce platform. So in terms of suppliers, you've got Printful, and you've got Printify that I've used as well. They've got quite a wide range of products. You've got Teespring as well. And there's one that I do really love. I mean, their products are a bit on the dearer side, but you understand that one of the reasons why is because it's all handmade. And they're UK based as well, which is really handy. And they're called Contrado, and they actually have a system that as you're creating, it will actually tell you whether your design is quality enough for them to actually create an item for you. So yeah.
Okay, so you sign up to this website, to these platforms, and you pay a monthly fee, and then you create your designs. When a customer sees that, so they go onto the platform, if they like the design, they purchase it, and then the supplier is the one that then delivers the product.
Yeah. And also what you also need is you need a platform to sell your products. So they can sell them directly to customers for you. But if you want the visibility, what you need is a website. So you can actually build your own website on some of the platforms, hosting platforms like Wix, like Shopify. There's also Squarespace as well. So those are the three I've used so far. So you create your website. You can link it to a variety of different print-on-demand suppliers.
I see.
And what then happens is those print-on-demand suppliers, they won't charge you for you to create your designs. So it's free. You only get charged if someone actually purchases an item.
Okay, so you don't have like a sort of like a monthly subscription, like a hosting subscription.
So the hosting subscription is for the website.
Oh, yeah.
But not for the supplier. And what you find is they do offer subscriptions where you can pay a monthly subscription to get a bigger portion of the profit when your item is sold. The only thing, though, to remember is that when someone pays for an item, you need to make sure that you've got enough money to actually cover the production of that item. So it's one of those where the money that comes back to you is the profit from the sale of the item. So Let's say, for instance, you design a T-shirt. They will then make the T-shirt. Someone wants to buy it, and maybe making it costs like £15, and you're selling the T-shirt for, say, £25. The individual who's buying the T-shirt on your website will pay the £25. The print-on-demand supplier will be expecting you to pay £15.
£15, right.
For them to create the item.
And then you just take the difference.
You just take the difference. So it's a nice way to start out in the field and in the business world, and you can pace yourself as well and just do it a bit at a time, see what works, what's comfortable. We are now also starting to get providers who are willing to take that risk for you to design an item, and what you then do is they won't charge you when someone buys. All they will do is once they process the payment, they will then give you the difference. However, a lot of those providers, they will host your shop on their site. for you. So there isn't as much freedom to plug them into different providers or e-commerce platforms. But the items that they do make, because they've got a bit more control in terms of the production process, are amazing, of an amazing standard, and the colors, the graphics. So like I use Redbubble, and that is really it's very arty based, and the colors are so vibrant. And when you actually see your design, because what they'll do is they'll give you a catalog of 93 items that you can actually see your graphic on, or your picture on. And what you then have to do is then blend it into the look that you want.
So say, for example, if it was a pillow or a mug or a dress, a t-shirt, okay, you'll be able to see that design on it.
Yes, and you'll be able to, and it's amazing when you see it come to life.
What sort of startup costs do people have to consider prior to setting it up?
I guess the first thing is I'd say, because I was thinking about this, and I would say the first startup cost is time, your time, the value of your time. Because to be honest with you, the e-commerce field, you can actually set up with very minimal costs, and it can look very easy from the outside when you're looking in. However, there's a lot of work. You've got to put in the time. You've got to put in the time to understand your niche. You've got to put in the time to actually understand the different facets of e-commerce business. So, it's almost like learning another language, basically. I mean, I remember when I started, I didn't know the difference between a website and a domain. Like, is that not the same thing? I didn't understand the difference between an e-commerce platform and a print-on-demand provider. I didn't understand the difference between print-on-demand and drop shipping. So it's all of this this knowledge that you need to actually equip yourself with. You can always pay somebody to set up your website, or to even set up your shop for you, but you also need to maintain it. So you do need to understand what it is that you're doing, or that you're creating. And a lot of the platforms will provide you with tools and learning sets for you to do and complete, and a lot of them are free to access, actually. So, and there is a lot of encouragement to get involved, but what I'd say is just take your time, get to understand what it is that you want to do. And once you've identified your niche, understand where they go and buy. What kind of things do they buy? When do they buy? And once you do that, what you'll find is that their website hosting comparison sites and videos and articles. And so they will actually help you narrow down to which platform is best for your particular niche or for your particular business. Because with e-commerce, you can sell. It doesn't necessarily have to be retail, apparel, shoes, and all of that. You can sell pictures, you can sell books, you can sell services. And what you'll find is that each of the website hosting platforms, they cater to particular niches. And so they'll give you additional tools that you can actually use some of them are already inbuilt into the websites or into the e-commerce platforms. And so it will meet the needs of your target audience.
Yeah. And I suppose things like, costs for your website and domain as well. Marketing, maybe?
So you've got the usual cost you'd have if you were opening up a physical shop, basically, or a physical business. So you do have the marketing costs. But what I would say, and this is something that I also learned when as I was setting up, is the marketing. It all depends on which platform you use. If you're going to have physical marketing and you need to create flyers and things like that, it's about finding the tools where to create those. So you've got things like Canva, for instance, which is really helpful, where you can go and create things, not just even for your business, but for work as well. Or
I like Canva.
Yeah, it's an amazing space, really. And so from that you can then and with Canva, it's like, if you want the premium plus, I think it's like £10.99 or something a month. But there's also the free option as well. So there are ways to cut the costs. And what I'd say is, if you are going to use things like social media to promote your work and things like that, there are people who create content for you, which is really helpful. But also, and this is the thing I'd almost missed, actually, is don't rush to start paying for adverts and promotions. Because what happens is, if your product is not fully formed, or you don't yet have a clear direction in terms of who your target audience is, you will spend a lot of money selling your products to everybody.
Everyone.
To appear in front of everybody. So whether it is you're using, the whole disruptive approach to marketing, where, your adverts pop up in people's streams and all of that, or you just want something organic and, they can search you and you pop up, before you start paying, get your package right. Test things out. Send people samples. Get them to actually give you feedback on the things that you've created, and ask them for honest feedback, because you want to make the mistakes in a safe space that was not going to cost you too much financially. And there are things you're going to learn as you go along. You can't learn all of it all at once, but at least get a clear understanding of your product before you start paying for whether, the various Facebook, Instagram, and, you can pay for ads all over the place, even I think Google as well, with the Google ad. There are tools there to use, but you need to understand your product. You need to understand what your unique selling point is. You need to understand your niche before you start doing all of that.
Right.
Because
so how are you increasing your traffic then to your website now?
Well, had to be a bit more creative than when I started, given all the pressures and the change in how we shop and what we shop for. So word of mouth is amazing. If I purchase something that I like, I will tell somebody else. I'll tell my friend, and they will tell somebody else. Making sure, and this is why doing your homework is so important. If you offer quality product, the word will get around. And this is why I was saying the most expensive startup cost is your time, because you need to invest that time. Getting to network with people, signing in and becoming, linking into a lot of the e-commerce directories. So you've got people creating e-commerce directories. And once you have identified your unique selling points, there are groups that are created around particular selling points or niches. And so you target those particular settings because you're amongst your own, you know, and they will know and you will know each other and you'll be able to understand each other's language as well. So it's about connecting, networking, and being as transparent as you can be, I think, and being as authentic as well about the things that you're creating and why you're creating them. Because like I said, people don't just buy, you know, they're not necessarily buying your item, they're buying the experience. So like, for instance, for me, with what I do, in terms of coming into business, yes, the financial, you know, benefits of having an additional income stream is helpful, but also having that outlet to actually distress and share a part of me that I normally don't get to share, whilst also being able to raise funds to support initiatives that matter to me and matter to the people that I care about and I love and the communities that I live in, is amazing. Because I, you know, in another life, maybe I'd be a millionaire and I'd be able to, support a charity or something like that. But this is my little way of giving back. So what you'll find on all my websites and my ranges, each one of them will be actually, the profits range from 20% to 40% of the profits go to a charitable cause.
Oh.
And so for me, that is something that, you know, gives me a lot of peace and makes me feel that I am contributing to the community that I live in and the community that cares for me and the people that I care about.
Now, how are you setting your stores apart from the competition? Because e-commerce is highly competitive field at the moment.
I remember the success is varied, really. I think in terms, you see, what you just asked just reminded me of a post someone shared. I can't remember which social platform they used, but they shared a picture of, you know, the bread aisle in a supermarket. Mm-hmm. And you got all these, it's all bread, but they all are made by different brands. And people go there and they will buy. And you've got people telling you, this is the bread, this is my bread, this is the type I always buy. And so for me, the way I look at it is competition can only make you better. And a lot of it is also about learning as well. So I am an admirer of a lot of other e-commerce businesses. I've learned a lot from them. I stay authentically true to myself, because if you then lose your identity, then the people that have invested in you and your brand, they are going to start getting confused and thinking, you know, is this what we invested our time in still the same as what we're still getting? So you have to stay true to who you are, the identity of your brand. And you also, you know, you need to understand what your unique selling point is. And that's why you need to take your time to identify that. And it doesn't have to be something big, but it's that thing that keeps you going, that drives you. That means that, you know, when you can't sleep at night and you get up at 3 a.m., you know, or you're still up at 3 a.m., creating an advert of your newest creation and identifying where to send it, and you're pinging it to, you know, the people, your quality control team, which is mainly, you know, the people around you, and you're pinging them links to your advert. Yeah, tell me, what do you think of this? What do you think of the backing music? You know, and it's just, yeah, it's not always easy. Don't get me wrong. And sometimes, yes, it feels like, it's time to throw in the towel. But, as the saying goes, easy come, easy go.
True.
You put in, what you get out is as much as you put in.
How about things like shipping issues? Have you encountered any issues with shipping? And how are you managing your customers' expectations and regards to deliveries and shipping times?
Well, for me, what I've been doing is I've been really honest with people. Transparency is important. Trying to paper over the cracks doesn't get you very far. Because what happens is there's certain things that are within your control, certain things that you can influence, and certain things that are absolutely out of your control. And so you need to be honest and open with people about that. And also, for instance, if there is something they needed for a particular occasion, it's looking at, okay, in terms of my other lines, is there something that I actually can get hold of sooner, before the item that they've ordered comes in, so that they don't miss out and they still get something that they can use whilst they're still waiting for the item that they originally ordered to come. And also just acknowledging, not waiting for someone to say, yeah, you've inconvenienced me, but actually to say, you know what, I'm really sorry about that, and trying to find a way to, I don't like the word compensate, but to acknowledge the issue or the challenge, really. And also just being very, like I said, being transparent with people and saying there are delays. And sometimes those delays, there's something we can do about them, whether it is, getting hold of the supplier and just checking what's going on, if there's anything you can do from your end, or if they can find you a different supplier who's closer, where there'll be fewer shipping complications, because that's what a lot of providers have now started doing. If the original supplier cannot, make the item, they'll actually ask you if you want to redirect to a supplier who's closer to you. It may cost you a bit more, but it's worth it for your customers, your clients, the people that are supporting you, to get the product that they have actually paid for.
What are some of the mistakes that you think you've made whilst running your stores?
Oh, loads. Loads.
What are some key memorable ones?
Well, I'd say paying for ads before I knew what I was advertising. Hence why I labored so much on that point.
Right.
And also reading the fine print, because there have been times when, you set up campaigns on, say, like Google or one of the platforms, and or Amazon or wherever, and you think, oh yeah, they said I can use this, I can post my campaign and they'll promote my item, but you haven't read the fine print that actually explains how much it's going to cost you and what they mean by, pay per click, for instance, because, there are times people stumbling on your website, you're not necessarily going to be charged for that, but you will be charged if they click on an ad and they come through to your website, even if they don't buy.
And don't purchase, that's the thing.
This is the thing. So you're thinking, but there's so many people who've clicked, but the turnover is 0, but I owe £20. And it's like, okay. And this is where, networking is so important, because I've got friends as well that have ventured into business, and some of them sell goods online as well, or they sell physical products that they actually have, and they ship them off. And so I was literally just constantly asking them questions. And I remember I just set up my knitting business on Etsy for the handmade items, and I saw I had so many visits onto my website, and I was like, oh, but then the clicks. So I had like 100, but the clicks were like I think I had like 15, and I was like, huh? What does this mean? And my friend was like, listen, you can have, 10,000 views. But out of this 10,000, you get 100 clicks. That's very good. And I was like, huh? So it's getting your head around the numbers. And so it took me a while to and this is what I was saying, it's almost like a different language, really. The other bit, and this is one that came back to bite me, is that there is the calendar that we all use every day, but there's also a business calendar or a selling calendar or a campaign calendar which shows you all the different seasons so that you actually prepare in advance. So basically what you do is you've got, and this explains why, as soon as we have Halloween, the next week, Christmas decorations are in the shops. And you're thinking, why? It's too soon. But actually, that is the commercial, calendar. So by the time we get to, say, Christmas, products for Christmas are already are being created during the spring. So by the time the actual event arrives, you should by that time have already started creating your campaigns leading up to that point in time. So you identify the periods of the year or the holidays of the year that you want to focus and target that actually will, matter to your niche. And you have to then create your ranges in advance of that. But why would you do that? But because you need to start tailoring your messaging to provide the best possible platform and most visibility for your products.
How do you plan on growing your business?
I guess for me, it's because there's a brand, which is one of the most fascinating things, because I was like, I can actually create a brand. You see, these are the kind of things as well that are amazing accidents of the whole process. So for me, what I, and I was saying this the other day to my brother, and I was like, I want to create an empire. I want to create a fashion empire. And I want to create a fashion empire that is socially conscious, that will also reflect the values I've been brought up with, and also send a clear message that anyone can do it, and also sharing this journey with the next generation as well, to actually just show them that there are options and you don't have to just be one thing. I am creative in my work as a nurse. I'm creative in my role as a mother, a sister, a friend, and I'm also creative in my business.
So final words then, what would be your words of encouragement?
I would say keep going. Don't give up. It's not going to be easy, but it will be worth it in the end. And just be true to yourself.
Well, thank you very much for sharing with us some insightful information there. Where can people connect with you, find you, if they wanted to know more about what you're doing?
I am on LinkedIn, and I am on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm also on Facebook.
Okay, for anyone that wants to.
Yeah, or you can just reach out to me through my website as well, because they all have. And yes, if people can subscribe, see, this is shameless plugging right here. they're more than welcome to subscribe, and we can have more conversations as well, because one of the things that I've tried to do is to build in forums where we can actually have conversations, because I think the more we talk, the more we learn from each other.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, and wish you all the best with your stores.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this whole series as well, because I've learned a lot from the other speakers, and I look forward to learning even more from the ones that are coming after me.
Appreciate the feedback. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. You make it possible.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, rate it, and review it on iTunes, as this can help others find it. If you'd like updates on the podcast, you can follow the pages on Instagram or Facebook by searching for Well Restorer. If you have any questions or would like to give some feedback, you can send an email to info@wellrestorer.co.uk. Thanks once again. Take care.